Have you heard the saying, the source of all evil is debt, and debt is slavery? And to some extent, that is accurate, as when you are drowning in debt, your life is finished, and your fathers are not waiting for you when you finish attempting to pay off your debts. Since no one lends money for free, they are expanding daily, and interest exists at all times. As a result, the average household now owes more than $5,300, which is approximately $15 trillion. The U.S. economy is made up entirely of the GDP, which is just over $21 trillion. But I do have some welcome news to share. Not always a terrible thing. That is an unpopular opinion given that the majority of our debt comes from credit cards, which you almost certainly have. It's a loan for a car. Being a student, you could be thinking that it will take decades for you to pay off all of your loans. In order to comprehend how anything might be advantageous, how on earth can that be something good? Let's look at how those with deep pockets continue to exploit that to generate additional revenue. It might seem a little perplexing at first, since why would anybody with a lot of money use something that is meant to be utilized by others with little money? But that is not how capitalism operates. When used properly, that is a strong tool. Additionally, you'll learn how wealthy people use that in this video to increase their income. Give this video a thumbs up, and then let's get started. First, it is the foundation of the majority of trade. It may sound a little problematic at first due to the initial borrowing, although I personally think the business is a terrible idea and would never do it. There are some industries, particularly traditional industries, where doing so is your best option. Consider the case where you wish to sell pens. Pens are a highly common product, and there is almost always a market for them. You ought to take a plane to China, locate a manufacturer that makes that type of pen at a reasonable price, and you can buy a container of trousers, transport them to the U.S., and sell them to your customers. But that's mostly finished now, unless it's more sophisticated online via websites like Alibaba. And there are items for which you must fly to the manufacturer, but there is a catch. Actually, you don't even need to pay for the products to use them. Let me first explain how China has evolved into the world's primary producer during the past 50 years. Literally thousands of factories manufacture everything the world needs on a continuous basis. And most of these companies are happy to lend you their goods in exchange for a payment that you will make in the future in order to facilitate sales. They wouldn't lend to strangers, of course. Therefore, you will need to initially establish some sort of rapport with them. However, this is how business has operated for the previous 50 years. After the customer sells the product in the U.S. or anywhere else in the globe, he pays the factory and borrows more goods. In essence, you're informing the factory that you know how to make it. So let me assist you in selling it. If I can get anything more than this for it, I'm going to make money off of that. What? Beck adopted this tactic. Great. It's the fact that you aren't investing your own money in this transaction. Selling is therefore one of the most important skills to master when refinancing real estate. That is the ideal sort of debt since it has many loopholes. Otherwise, you would have to pay extra taxes. To be able to take advantage of all those deductions, wealthy people frequently have numerous mortgages. Remember that every dollar you were scheduled to pay in taxes but instead saved was an additional dollar gained. This is another way that wealthy individuals accumulate more wealth. But let me give you a more realistic solution. This is essentially how wealthy individuals become wealthy in real estate. Let's assume that you were able to save $300,000. Even if it seems like a lot of money, it's really just peanuts. Not even a home can be purchased. Since you must put 20% down, you obviously cannot obtain a mortgage for more than $800,000. But here's the trick. Imagine that you find a property that was purchased for $500,000, is in poor shape, and needs some work, possibly significant work. A 20% down payment was required in order to go to a bank and obtain a mortgage. Let's assume that your renovation budget will be roughly $50,000, or about 10% of the home's overall cost. You needed to rebank. However, because the home was in such poor shape when you obtained your first mortgage, its worth was only $50,000 when you decided to refinance. Since you remodeled it, there are now people who want to rent it out, even though no one wanted to live there before. The market value of that property, let's say, rises to $700,000. And let's assume you're going to acquire an 80% mortgage. But 80% out of $700,000 is $560,000 and $400,000. Out of that money, your first bank will receive $400,000. That provided you with the initial mortgage, and after subtracting the additional $50,000 you spent on renovations, you will have an additional profit of $110,000. You used debt to make $100,000, and now you have a home you can rent out to increase your equity and get passive income. Additionally, you will not have to pay taxes. This is a very typical strategy among real estate investors because you have a mortgage. Do you actually see a way to lessen that? It's not good. I'll let you respond to that in the comments area. Hedge funds are after number 3. Hedge funds are created by the rage for the rich to increase the wealth of the wealthy, and they frequently employ controversial tactics. People like you and I do our best to forecast which businesses will expand, increase in value, and attract investment in the hopes that these businesses will prosper. However, hedge funds frequently employ a completely different approach. When businesses call or fail, like in the instance of GameStop, they strive to earn money, although in that instance, the internet presented a barrier and caused the hedge funds to lose almost $13 billion US. However, how do hedge funds profit from that? Let's imagine you predict that a particular stock would fall like Facebook, because you know that the most popular smartphone manufacturer, Apple, will declare next week that it will no longer allow apps to track users. Tracking your online activities and putting privacy first, like Facebook or Instagram, will seriously harm Facebook's revenue model, so you pick up the phone and dial your broker to borrow a single share of Facebook stock from him for, say, $100 and immediately sell it for $100 on the open market. Congratulations! You now have $100 in your wallet, but your broker is still owed money. One share of Facebook. Let's assume you are correct, and Facebook's stock price drops to $70 the next week. You use that $100 to purchase one Facebook share at a discounted price of $70 before giving it back to your broker and keeping the rest in your own pocket. The distinction. Congratulations! You made $30 from a full stock. Though it appears straightforward in theory, doing it well is quite hazardous and complicated. What if you're mistaken? Would you still have to return that one phase if the price doubled overnight? We should speak with the broker and pay interest for the stock we are borrowing. To give that stock back to your broker, you must now pay $200. When you buy a stock and attempt to sell it when it increases, the most you can lose is the amount you spent. But when you short a stock, your losses increase if the price climbs. Since stock prices might hypothetically increase eternally, you could theoretically sustain a limitless amount of losses. However, employing approach number 4 for X, if you have 100 analysts working for you, you can forge. This topic was covered in our Forex video, which link? I'll leave a comment, but this is how it functions. Forex is a market where currencies are traded, to put it simply. It enables international trade. For example, you can pay your employees in China using US dollars, but you must purchase Chinese yen to do so. Therefore, anyone or any organization can go to the market. Additionally, you can buy foreign currencies, which vary according to many circumstances. For instance, if the Fed raises interest rates, it will reduce the amount of dollars available on the market and strengthen the US dollar relative to other currencies, or vice versa. Therefore, you might make a lot of money in this market if you could forecast which currencies will increase or decrease. However, what distinguishes these markets from the rest is that for every dollar, you can either use to borrow an additional $100 or trade in for X. This implies that if you trade using your $1,000, you can hold a position of $100,000. It will be quite beneficial to your credit score if you manage to make a modest profit of, say, 1%. As you can see, that is a highly effective tool that every successful business employs in a variety of ways, particularly if you have a tested business module, bowling money to finance buy orders. His technique is pretty much adopted by every business. Stop thinking in terms of everything being evil, especially when it comes to credit cards with high interest rates. However, you must reduce the risks associated with lending you money in order to receive a reduced interest rate. How do you go about that? You developed a reputation as a risky borrower. Trillions of dollars, if not more, are waiting for someone in the banks. They fill half a bowl. In any case, please remember to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Additionally, subscribe and enable your notifications if you're new around here. I appreciate you viewing, and I'll see you in the next.